Hey y'all, it's Miko, and today's video is going to be similar to the last one, but I'm going to be going over some changes that I'm making towards my life and the channel itself. And I posted a short thing on Twitter yesterday, but I'm going to go more in depth in this video. And I kind of want a recap of like everything I've been through ever since making the full transition into where I am right now. So I guess it started in like early 2020 when I graduated, or no, I'd say mid 2020 when I graduated. I struggled to find an engineering job, and that's where I got an internship at a Chicago startup for UI UX. And I didn't really know too much, but I did feel like I enjoyed what I was doing and learning from the other designers on the team, and it just made me feel like I was problem solving, like what I envisioned myself doing after graduating college. But after that internship, I decided to take on a mechanical equipment technician job, which is like a biotech job. And I think I'd say a year, like 6 months into it, I decided to do a UI UX boot camp. And that was a little hard doing full time jobs and boot camp and then maintaining like relationships and such. It was a really hard time for me. And um, I grew to a point where I couldn't really handle my first job anymore because of how much I hated it, and got another engineering job in February of 2022 or January. I can't really remember actually. But fast forward to November and like grinding along boot camp, I got laid off of November of 2022 and decided to make my full jump into the UI UX like world, and I buckled down and just finished my boot camp. But upon finishing my boot camp, I tried to get more work outside of like the bootcamp projects that I did, because I didn't feel like those were necessarily job ready, and I feel like I was kind of like rushed to just like start applying for jobs with like subpar work that I wasn't really happy with, if that makes sense. And after trying to work with my first like design client, I realized I don't really know how I'm going to showcase a lot of this kind of stuff, especially if it's just a prototype and it's not really tangible for clients just to have like a design file. Like they usually just want like a physical product, and that's where Webflow came in. I've been learning Webflow softly ever since I was introduced to it in 2021 by one of my friends, and I think after I finished bootcamp, I decided to go all into Webflow, or like near the finish of it, because that's what I made my first portfolio with. And that's when I discovered the beauty of design and development and having this superpower to bring my ideas to life and push them out to the web for people to see and experience. And I thought that was super cool to me. And I tried job searching for 6 months, so from March to August. And I think by that point, it was really demoralizing, because I was just applying like it was a 9 to 5, and I didn't really have any direction of like how to tackle this job search on. And I just applied and applied, and there were no interviews, and I took a step back from the job market to just either do side projects or try to freelance, and I ultimately decided to take that route. And it was a lot for me like mentally, and yeah, I eventually went into Webflow conference around 2023 of October, and I met this group of people, and they're called the crew, and they've been there for me throughout my entire journey, and gave me confidence to be more active on Twitter, reaching out to people and asking questions, and just genuinely be curious. And I saw so much progress as I spent more time with them, and like being confident in my work, and also being very receptive to the feedback that I got. So I think around January is when I started learning more about code and like really diving into it. I mean, outside of like HTML and CSS, which is like pretty bread and butter for most web dev people, I started learning about JavaScript and like implementing JavaScript animations through 3JS or like GSAP within my projects, and just trying to implement one thing at a time, and maybe even like a CSS animation here and there out, and then combining that with like what my knowledge is of Webflow, of like building and like adding interactions, and like really polishing my ideas before making them public. And I realized that there was so much more to development outside of Webflow, and there was a time where I just focused on coding, and I wanted to switch into that. But with certain life changes that have happened recently, I just took a step back and was trying to realize, like, why did I even do this in the first place? And it's because as an engineer, I wanted to create, I wanted to help people with their problems and come up with something that does that. Sorry. And yeah, after sitting around for the past few days and just thinking about why I'm doing this in the first place, and finding the love for like myself and taking pride in what I do. Like, I love to create, and I love that I'm able to bring those ideas to life. And after having that realization, I think it's time for me to be confident and go into the job market again. And unfortunately, that would mean pushing freelancing to the side. And it's not completely what I envisioned, because, of course, I envisioned like having a lifestyle where I could, manage the time how I needed to, and like go off like my productivity times. But I think right now, I think this is the best approach for me, especially because I have so much to learn, and I do have experiences with clients that I think make me more competitive, especially with like knowing UI, UX, and knowing about Webflow, knowing about code. Makes me a lot more competitive and more confident in myself to embrace this again. So my summer roadmap is obviously to job search, and now I'm working with career coaches so that I'm not just alone in this and, applying to jobs endlessly and then, nothing happens. And I don't want to repeat that and being pushed to the edge. I also plan on doing finishing out my client projects. I have 2 that I'm going to finish it out by July and August, so I'm really excited to make content about that and show how that went. And I do want to take this time to think about my physical and mental health, because I'm usually in a chair for, I guess with my part-time job at the moment, probably for like majority of the day, and I should take care of my body. I only have one, and I want to live to experience life. And what do you call it, aside from that, like perfecting like my craft, I just want to implement what I've learned in coding to come up with some things that I can implement into my Webflow projects, and trying to leverage that kind of experience over people who are also applying. So trying to make myself more competitive, I guess. And like the dream, it's a Webflow role, because I really do love Webflow. It's led me to meet such amazing people, and that would be great. But some reflections that I wanted to end off on is that life happens fast and people change all the time, and I am changing as well. Hence, you see me going back and forth between coding and designing. I'm still very interested in both, and I think that with the time I've put into coding, it's made me more confident into where I can take my designs, because I usually design to the ability of what I can do in Webflow, because, like if I can't do it in Webflow, then why even bother designing it? It's just pointless. It's just going to sit there in the prototype forever and never be actually implemented. My goals haven't changed, and I still just all in all want to create really cool stuff, meet really great people, and experience life while, loving what I do and taking pride in what I do. And it makes me think that although that there's a lot of changes that can happen in life, I think that just means that there's more paths for me to take and try and experience, because I did read a tweet from Dan Petty, and he was like, you could give up, but then it's like, are you just gonna live with the regret that knowing that you haven't tried? And then it made me think of another quote where it's like, I can't complain until I've done possibly everything to achieve what I want and like my ideal lifestyle for myself. And that being said, I plan on freelancing on the side as I, do this job market stuff of applying for jobs. And last but not least, like, the reason I'm trying to find this like mental health balance and like physical health balance is because people have reached out to me, whether it's the crew or like people on Twitter, and have been sending me so much support. And it just made me realize that some people that I've thankfully gotten time to bond with and form like a genuine connection with them, they see a lot more potential in me compared to the potential I see in myself. And I'm trying to swallow the pill that like I'm ready to do this again, and I can move past whatever struggles that I had last year, because I'm in a much better place and I've put in more time to my craft and figuring out what I want to do. And yeah, I guess it's only forward from here. So I will be switching the content from freelancing to the job market journey. And I think I'll still be posting like side project content and freelance content when that does come, but I don't want to like heavily rely on it, especially for the goals of trying to move out the Midwest and just starting fresh. And with this new journey, I hope y'all can support me. And thank you to those who have. And if you've stuck around for this whole video of me just yapping, well, thank you. I appreciate it. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one.